The first type of malware we're going to discuss for this chapter is the Trojan, and Trojan is probably the most popular kind of malware that a hacker will use against a system. Now, Trojans basically are a unique class of malware. They're not like viruses or worms. They get their name from the Trojan horse of Greek mythology. If you remember correctly, from Greek mythology, the opposing army hid troops, in the big wooden horse structure, sent it to their enemy as a quote-unquote gift, and then during the night, while their enemy slept, all the troops came out and attacked the city. So it was supposedly a gift, but yet there was malicious intent with it, and there were attackers inside, and that's really what it is in terms of malware. Basically, it looks like an innocent piece of software or a useful program, but it's got attack tools, malware, malicious scripts, and so forth hidden in it. Now, Trojans are basically designed to relay commands or data to and from an attacker, from their PC or network, if you will. They can also be used to execute any attacks on other machines and on the victim machine that it resides on, as well as steal data. Now, Trojans use hidden or what's called covert channels to get information and commands. So you may not see this very easily. You may be seeing traffic over a port that should be open, like port 80, for example, or port 135, but it's actually Trojan traffic. So it's very hard to detect sometimes. Trojans are basically designed to be very stealthy and almost undetectable. Now, what Trojans are designed to do really is get an attacker on the box. In an earlier chapter, we talked about system hacking, and one of the big problems is actually getting your tools on the box or getting malware or something on the box that you can use to hack the box. Okay? That's where Trojans come in. They're basically designed to convey an attacker's foothold into a system, and basically they do this through the innocent program that is downloaded to the machine, emailed to an unsuspecting user, or pretty much otherwise transferred somehow or another to the victim's box. Now, what happens is this Trojan is inserted into a program in what's called a wrapper utility, and we'll talk about those a little bit later, but it's basically just a utility that puts a Trojan into a normal program. Now, this wrapper utility also programs this Trojan, the attacker programs it, to take specific actions, to use specific network ports and protocols, to install itself in a particular place, to go stealthy, to change the configuration, if you will, so that it can't be detected. Now, these Trojans may change their host program's file size or attributes just slightly, almost so they're not detectable. If you compared the before and after from a program, you might see a small size increase, for example. Now, Trojans, by and large, are detectable by antivirus software, but not always. Sometimes, even on a piece of known malware with a known antivirus signature, there are programs that will bit flip, change a couple of ones or zeros so that it will fool the antivirus signature and it can't be detected. Another way to fool antiviruses is actually to encrypt the malware as it's put into the program. Encrypted software, encrypted programs, and code cannot be read by antivirus software, so you may encrypt the malware so it can't be detected, or do the bit flipping to get around the signature problem. Now, if you've been attacked by a Trojan, there are a couple of things you might want to look for. Signs of a Trojan attack include increased activity by your network card or your hard disk. Maybe your hard disk is thrashing like crazy because it's going through files or transferring files off the box. The network card may be using up a lot of network bandwidth because it may be executing an attack or carrying out commands from the attacker. Programs that open and close by themselves, sometimes for just an instant. Things that happen on the system that you don't understand, like the mouse pointer moving by itself or the CD-ROM tray opening and closing. Those could be signs of an attack. Any kind of strange configuration changes, desktop colors, themes, may be one thing that's obvious, but a lot of these configuration changes wouldn't be noticeable to you, to an ordinary user. Things like encryption being turned off or SMB signing turned off, for example, something like that. You also may see unauthorized account changes, like user accounts that weren't there before, or even your password policy has been changed. Maybe some accounts have blank passwords now. Another thing you might see are pop-ups, messages, and unexpected browser sessions that are opened and closed, sometimes very quickly. That could be a sign that the Trojan is communicating across the network or the internet. Some of the infection methods that a Trojan may have include phishing attacks, social engineering, obviously we've talked about, getting someone to load a USB stick. One popular social engineering attack is the use of road apples. That's basically where you drop a USB stick in a parking lot and someone picks it up and says, hey, somebody lost a USB stick. I wonder what's on it. So they put it in their computer without virus scanning it. Drive-by web attacks may mean that you go to a particular website and before you can do anything, you've downloaded some malware. We've all seen pop-ups. We've seen these fake virus alerts that tells you that your system has been infected and you must click on the button to disinfect it, and that's how you'll get the Trojan. Email obviously is another avenue. Now, we've already talked about some of the uses for these Trojans, including keystroke logging, capturing the screen, and basically all these things we've talked about is what any kind of malware could do, but Trojans in particular are bad about these things. And we'll discuss some more uses of these as we go into the next session and discuss a little bit more about how Trojans are put together and how they're used.